How what's up, y'all? It's Poppin' It's D. About to react to this vid by Spill Sesh. It's titled SYMONE Exposes Hollywood, Child Star Experiences and Changes Needed. If she spills, we gonna get all the tea, because she's been in the industry for a very long time. I'm sure she's seen a lot. If she really spills, don't give us no baby spill. I want everything. Tell us everything, Raven. Let's hear what she got to say. Let's watch.
There's been a lot of conversations being had recently about child stars and the protection of children in the entertainment industry. And now Raven-Symoné has come out to join in on the conversation. She recently sat down with her wife and child star Chris Massey to talk about the Quiet on Set docuseries and the conversations getting started from what was included in it. Raven and Chris both have experiences being on set at a young age.
And this nigga went crazy, so let's talk about it. What drove him crazy? Him, Amanda Bynes, some other people, they literally got driven crazy. So something's going on. It ain't just drugs. Something happened. So spill that tea as well.
Raven, especially as she was acting in...
Well, I guess that's not right to spill that tea. That's up to them to tell their story. But I mean, we can't get no clear... What up?
The Bill Cosby Show at the age of 3. She later went on to star in her own Disney Channel show, That's So Raven, where Chris's real-life brother Kyle Massey played Raven's TV brother on the show. So that's the connection with these two sitting down with each other, is that they've known one another for a long time and seen each other through the industry. Chris was on Zoe 101 and was about 15 when the show aired in 2005, and it was a Dan Schneider show, and was one of the shows covered in Quiet on Set, as some of the things written into the show were being called out for being inappropriate now that people were looking at it again. Chris admitted that he hadn't watched the docuseries, but did feel as though he had things that he wanted to say about his experience working with Dan and the industry as a whole, and so he reached out to Raven and her wife Miranda to talk about everything on their podcast. And the three of them really broke down some of what goes on behind the scenes with children in the industry. And when it comes to Chris and Raven, both seem to have pretty good experiences on the set of their shows, but they certainly mentioned how their parents were very much monitoring them and on set at all times, and not every parent is this way, saying that some of them do get caught up in this world and can be toxic.
My mom, my dad, they were on set.
Yep.
No matter what. It's a really touchy subject that people should understand that aren't familiar with being on a set. Your mom and dad have full authority to be on set.
I know your parents and you know mine.
Yep.
And there are some parents that are so mesmerized by the glitz and glamour.
Yep.
This person's going to take care of my kid and this is it. And then there are other families and cultures that say, if you touch my kid, I'm killing you.
Yep.
So I'm going to be underneath them all day long.
And that's what I was going to say, that there are
should.
people who I think when their kids book roles, they all of a sudden kind of jump into a different tax bracket, and then you're around professionals, right? Like, not all parents understand the industry, so they come into it just as green as their young child who just booked this role.
Most of the kids that...
Girl, that's common sense, though. You don't leave these weird, strange, grown people around your kid all day, every day. Nah. You don't have to be privy to the industry to have common sense and know that.
That were on shows that I was on Nickelodeon or Disney, they know my parents. I know their parents. I know Raven's mom, dad, just like she knows my mom and dad.
Now, I will say that there were people in Quiet on Set like Drake Bell who had parents who were watching them all the time, were very protective, but it did sound like parents who did speak up on certain occasions and try to advocate for their child when they felt something wasn't right or things were weird, were either warned that their child wouldn't return to the show, they were actually fired, or in Drake's case, honestly manipulated to believe that their parent was ruining their own career and made to want to put some distance between themselves and said parent. But like in Jeanette McCurdy's situation, when she's talking about her mother in her book that she wrote, she did talk about how her mom would brush things aside as just being a part of Hollywood, and she wanted Jeanette to be an actress and be in the world, and didn't advocate for what her daughter needed or what was right. And that is just such a sad part of the industry that happens, that Raven and Chris were both acknowledging that does happen. Raven talked about how children in the industry are not protected under federal law, and that there really isn't too much regulation over how much a child must earn or work. In some states there are child labor requirements, but not in every state, and she talked about how she felt like this really needed to be changed.
You know, one thing that really irks me is that child actors and children in entertainment aren't protected under federal laws.
Yep.
And
Crazy.
which is absolutely crazy.
Yep.
You know, it says there's no.
They're not protected when it comes to the social media shit either. There needs to be way more regulation regarding this, especially what's been coming out lately. These weird ass parents getting arrested, going to jail for, you know, what they've been doing with their kids. So that definitely needs to change.
Federal law protecting child actors. Yes, in 1938, Congress passed the FLSA labor law, a labor law that established a minimum wage for children, including age standards, hours, and wages. However, this was only for industries in agriculture and manufacturing. But the one industry that is exempt from adhering to the FLSA was entertainment. As a result, each state is left to decide which labor laws they wish to enact, if any. I do believe with what we went through, there does need to be a standard across the board of what we can and cannot do and what needs to happen for us.
It's still honestly unbelievable to me that not every state regulates child entertainment laws, because a child working on a TV set is still a child working at the end of the day, and I don't understand why it's not seen as work compared to any other job, especially because when you're talking about entertainment, we're talking about people who could get caught up in the glitz and the glam or a dream that they're wanting for their child, and it's crazy that there's no regulations. Now, they also talked about how set teachers hold a lot of power in the industry. They are also social workers in California. I don't know if this is the case in every state, but in California, their set teacher is a social worker, and they do hold a lot of power because they can tell the production when a child needs to stop what they're doing on set and focus on school, or just make sure that they're not overworked and overwhelmed. But they talk about how not every set teacher uses their power for good, and some just sit back and don't actually advocate for children.
The teacher on the set has like the highest authority. Like, people don't know that. When you're on a kid's set, your teacher can come and pull you off that set and say, hey, look, he's got to do math homework.
And she can shut the whole production down. Or he can shut the whole production down.
Absolutely.
Teachers have a lot of power, and some of them use it for recognition, some of them don't.
And some just play the role and sit back. But Miss Foy, she would come there and she would talk to them. She'd say, hey, listen, he's got stuff he's got to do right now. He has to go. They would hate it, but at the end of the day, school comes first.
Raven did say some changes had been made since she was a child actor, but it's just simply not enough. And when she is working on set with children, she is very much wanting the parents to be present and wanting the kids to be taken care of.
There are so many things in place now that were not in place when we were actually acting. Before every season, every single sitcom, especially with children, there is a mandatory health and safety meeting through lawyers to explain what quid pro quo is, to explain what diversity is about. These meetings are brand new. And there's things that you're like, obviously that did not happen with Dan Schneider. I remember there was a season of a show that I was on with kids. I'm going to say what, when, how. But I remember the parents not coming to set. And I stopped and I said, I need every parent on the set. No, they don't need to be there. It's safe. I said, no. You can be in the stands. You can be sitting down there. You can do whatever you need to. But for a child, knowing their parent is there, if their parent isn't toxic, is safe.
Absolutely.
Raven also talked about something that she believes all child stars experience, and it has to do with this after effect of no longer being this mega star in the spotlight, and that when all the lights and cameras aren't on them anymore, something happens to them. And she claims this is something that happens with every child star in the industry. They all suffer from this, and that some parents think that their child's going to be the exception, but she does not believe this to be the case, that everyone ends up this way.
All child stars go through the same mental health issue. It's a silent underneath layer of, I always have to live up to what other people need me to be and see and entertain.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm no longer entertaining in front of the television. I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you took your step back, did you feel like you needed to be the life of the party? Did you feel like you needed to live up to the Chris Mass that everybody knows?
There are certain people, right, who grew up in stardom. Some people were not mentally strong enough to accept when their reign is over, right? When their superstardom has now dwindled to, oh, hey, you're the guy from, I used to love that show. When it becomes that, certain people who are addicted to to the lights and the action and everything, they can't dial it back and live a normal life.
Now, in terms of Dan Schneider and Chris's experience, he doesn't have a bad thing to say about Dan. He says that his dad was strict on him, so Dan being a tough boss wasn't something that affected him personally. He says that he did see him get upset when things were going wrong, but didn't think too deep on it. But Raven did think that this was toxic.
I witnessed him be upset when things were going wrong, but so does every boss, so does every manager. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna say that someone yelling is a toxic environment, you have to look at all sports, all coaches.
That's very toxic.
Now, Chris didn't watch the docuseries, so he didn't hear about the other things that Dan was called out for, it seemed, which was a long list of inappropriate and unfair treatment in the workplace, which Raven did point out to him. But just overall hearing what they had to say.
And I'm saying he should be quiet only because it's like, if you're gonna try to minimize anything, like maybe you should get all of the tea. You should get all of the details. I don't call it tea, but you should get all the details first. Because to be like, well, I mean, yeah, he was, going off, but that's how a lot of bosses are. You think about sports, that's just how it is. I'm sure that was the least of the problems that people have with him, is him getting upset on set. Like, that's irrelevant.
About the industry and their experiences on set, there really truly is a need for some industry standard, because rules seem to vary, parents seem to vary, employers seem to vary, and children need to be protected. I still can't believe that compensation isn't even guaranteed to every child in the industry. And when I say that, I mean not every state requires that parents set aside their earnings for them.
Yeah, because these parents be robbing the hell out of their kids, okay? Living lavish off of their kids' earnings. So that's wild as well. But she ain't say shit. I mean, I'm not surprised. Raven doesn't seem like the type to, give us the dirty details and spill all the tea. She doesn't give me that. She gives me the vibe that she's going to keep it cute and talk about it, but not really talk about it. So that's what she's doing for sure. Hopefully more does come out, not even just regarding this, but just regarding the industry as a whole, because a lot of heinous, dark shit is taking place, and that definitely needs to be exposed so that can discontinue. But yeah, I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see you on the next time. Bye.